There's dramatic footage going around from the Hamid Karzai International Airport. The video we're about to show you has a baby being lifted up the perimeter wall over razor wire. Take a look at this. So look, obviously nobody watching this is going to be surprised, to hear us talk about the chaos in Afghanistan, but the idea that babies would need to be handed over walls certainly doesn't paint a great picture of the ability several days in of the US military to get people out. It's obviously a good thing that the child is out. It's a net good. But the system has to be fairly broken to create that sort of desperation. Now, to give you some more information about what happened after that, Vice World News has been told that after handing the baby over to US troops, the father ran back to help the baby's mother, who had been injured by the crowd. It has been reported that the family were reunited with their baby, but Vice World News has been unable to verify this. The Washington Post Dan Lamoth reported that the baby was treated on site by medical professionals. And this is sort of more recent, but video footage from earlier in the week showed children being lifted over crowds in order to reach British troops. Quote, "It was terrible. Women were throwing their babies over the razor wire, asking the soldiers to take them. Some got caught in the wire." This is according to a senior British officer saying, "I'm worried for my men. I'm counseling some. Everyone cried last night." And since then, the UK government has said that they will not be evacuating unaccompanied minors. And so, we're close to a week now following the official fall of Kabul, and some people have gotten out. They're moving hundreds of people out every single day, both the US and other countries, but there are still lots and lots of people desperate to get out, especially as the initial changes the Taliban is making start to roll out with every passing day.
So a lot of people are criticizing Joe Biden, as they should, not for withdrawing. We 100% agree with the withdrawal and staying with the withdrawal, but for obviously poor planning. And he said in a press conference today that no, Americans are not having any trouble getting to the airport. That's not true. There are plenty of Americans that are having trouble getting to the airport. And then he said we will get out all the people that helped us. Well, it doesn't look like we have a great plan to do that. With some have made it, some are desperately trying to make it, and others have not. But to me, the main culprits here are the Pentagon, the intelligence community, and the defense contractors. Apparently, they told the president that they had plenty of good plans, contingency plans, and they thought the Afghan government would hold for years, perhaps forever, right? Instead, they lasted, 11 days in total, I believe. And so obviously, the Pentagon sucks at their job, and in a lot of the press, I see the media getting to both sides that, oh, finally, good, we're getting to criticize Biden, right? And we get an opportunity to criticize Biden, so we seem fair, etc. But when it comes to the people who really screwed this up, I mean, the cable news is filled with former generals, usually working for defense contractors today as we speak, and there's barely any critique of the military, the defense contractors, and everyone involved in this awful, awful planning.
Yeah.
Ben?
Yeah, it's clear as day that there was no planning. What's the plan that they were implementing there to get all of our people and the people that helped us throughout this 2-decade war out by letting our enemies take over and then asking them to provide them safe passage to escape from them? That's the plan? I mean, that isn't a modicum of a plan. And I assure you something else, who's definitely getting out 100% of this group? The contractors. They're gonna be fine. They have a way out. They figured their own safe passage. It's insane that this is how we are, as the greatest nation that we purport to be in the world, that spent 2 decades for literally net gain zero, for literally exactly what could have been accomplished after 6 months in Afghanistan. So many lives lost, so much treasure of our nation spilled, $2 trillion plus for literally zero. The fact that you then see our defense contractors, that you see our State Department on TV being like, I don't have an answer to that. We didn't expect it. You never expect it to go. 20 years to draw up a plan. It's a terrible shame. It's a terrible stain on our country, and it's an insult to the troops that sacrificed their lives and limbs to be there for so long for a missionless mission.
Yeah, you pointed out, Cenk, that the media is like they're giddy because they can attack Biden on something that, I mean, definitely on his face, there's a lot of there's chaos there. People are going to be dying, and so it makes sense to criticize him for it. He was in charge. There wasn't a plan. Certainly, there are many other people, across multiple administrations, some of which he's served in, that can also be held responsible for that in part too. I would be a little bit more comfortable with the media jumping on this if I thought that they would learn something, in the same way that I would be sort of glad with America spending a lot of time focusing on this, if I thought that America was gonna come away from this experience really having learned something. We had that interaction with the National Security Advisor earlier this week with a reporter, I believe from C-SPAN, asking about how will we live without soldiers, bordering Tajikistan or whatever. And I worry that the criticism of the chaos right now is not going to turn into a sort of media-wide reckoning on the long-term effects, the side effects and consequences of the American empire. It's more just, this is an opportunity. This is an episode we can talk about, and then we'll go back to bringing the generals on, and we'll bring on David Frum and all that. That's sort of my worry as I see this criticism roll in.
Yeah, and John, I think it goes actually one step beyond that, because they're now voicing a lot of the Republican senators and Congress people coming on going, we told you we should have stayed longer. So it makes it seem like the main lesson to learn here is not to start insane wars or to get out of them as quickly as you can once you've kind of accomplished your mission, which was chasing bin Laden out of Afghanistan and Al-Qaeda out of Afghanistan, but to stay there forever and ever and ever. And that's how the media skews how we look at things. So look, one thing I'm worried about is the next time, right? So the next time we're considering a war, is the media going to show that video we just showed you of the baby being passed over the barbed wire? Are they gonna say, hey, remember the last time these guys lied to you and said they knew what they were doing, and that Iraq and Afghanistan were gonna have freedom and they were gonna greet us as liberators and all that stuff that they told us, and then we had babies being thrown over barbed wire? Remember those lies? Is anybody in the media gonna say that, in the mainstream media? Absolutely not, and you all know it. You know it ahead of time, and it doesn't really matter which part of the political spectrum you're on.
Super fast. I think we might see some of the footage if recent history is any indication. I mean, after all, we went through the whole experience of Vietnam. There was that footage of the last minute escape from Saigon, and they did remember to bring that footage up, but only this last week, as we were coming out of Afghanistan. So maybe we'll see that the footage of the baby after, we've spent 30 years in Kazakhstan. We're finally pulling out. Hey, I think I saw some footage that would be good here.
Biden purportedly referenced that exact footage and said, whatever we do, we cannot have footage like that, having to evacuate our people from the rooftops of the airport, which exactly happens just weeks later. I mean, you make a great point about what the media just focuses on for a hot button issue and then moves on. I mean, does no one remember that right after 9/11, the 18 terrorists were from Saudi Arabia, and when all flights were shut down from our country, the only flights that were allowed to continue were wealthy Saudis back to Saudi Arabia? That's a little strange. We have an agenda that is never reported, or is not reported, at least in the mainstream news. And it's insane how we just try to make meals out of these stories instead of trying to get any nutrition from it.
Yeah, and so last two things. Today, again in the press conference, Biden talked about, hey, we have a deal with the Taliban here that they're giving us safe passage out, right? And then the media goes nuts because it's easy to say, well, it doesn't look like safe passage, right? It's a layup. But there is a little bit of nuance there. They do have a deal. So if they didn't have a deal, the Taliban would be murdering all of the Americans right now stuck in Afghanistan that aren't at the airport, and they'd be killing all the people that they consider collaborators with the Americans. They're not yet doing that. So just understand the context, right? So it's a disaster, it's a mess, but don't believe the hype that there isn't an agreement. There is an agreement that the Taliban are nominally keeping, and part of the reason they're keeping it is they're telling their fighters, if the Americans want to leave, let them leave, and then we run the country, right? And then we'll kill everybody. So I get their strategy, but there is a deal in place for whatever it's worth, and it's worth something, as you can see, and it's not worth everything, which you can see. Super last point is again about the next time. I have a fail-safe plan for never getting into another one of these wars. If we get into a war, we have to accept any refugee from that country after the war is over. Because I mean, we invaded them. It makes sense. The bare minimum we could do is, hey, we bombed the living crap out of your country. So if it didn't work out, you guys are welcome to come here. Well, then you would never have another right winger ever vote for a war again. And there we go, we solved it. No more endless wars.
Well,
as long as they keep their word, which they're great at. They're really good at holding true to their promises.
Oh yeah, we're great at that, and the right wing is especially terrific at that. And I was going to say, well, they might want to invade Norway, but actually, that they're too liberal, so no.
Importing socialists, get out of here.
That's right.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.